Good afternoon. First, I guess the club's reaction to the sanction that's been handed down.
It's obviously really disappointing, but even more so, we're apologetic. Apologetic to the people who are on the plane, that the behaviours of some of our staff and players have made people on that plane uncomfortable. It's not an acceptable position for the club. So first and foremost, we're apologetic to those who are on the plane, apologetic to the AFL, who must be incredibly frustrated at a time when they're working so hard with governments to continue the season through the pandemic. It must be really frustrating for them, so we're apologetic to the AFL and then to our members who are no doubt disappointed in this. And it's a significant financial impact on the club as well, so yeah, we're disappointed and apologetic.
How lucky do you think the club was not to have any of those players involved suspended? Previously, when there have been COVID breaches in the AFL, players have been suspended as well as the club copping a fine. Do you think you've got off pretty lightly here?
Look, I think with situations like this, it's important to acknowledge that, whilst there was some individuals involved, it was really the collective that were at fault. So whether you're one of those people who weren't wearing your mask correctly, or whether you're a teammate or a fellow staff member and you haven't brought those people to account in that moment, we all wear the blame. So I think it's appropriate that the club was sanctioned, given the collective were really responsible for it.
Do you think the players thought they were above the rules? Obviously, we're all told to wear a mask when we board a plane or if we step inside an airport. Do you think they thought they were above those rules?
I don't think our players believe they're above the rules. What they were was complacent. And at times during that flight, they weren't wearing the mask correctly for what was not permissible reasons, and following the AFL investigation, they determined that that was the case, and we're sanctioned, and so we should be for not doing the right thing.
How concerned were you when this came to light that it could potentially jeopardise today's game, particularly when health authorities here have worked so hard to give it the go-ahead and have Collingwood enter South Australia under such strict protocols? Anytime
you have anyone in the community reflect on the behaviours of your people in a negative way, it certainly makes your stomach turn. And right from the start, that's a response, and you're concerned for the impact it's going to have on your people. You're concerned for how that's going to influence decision making. But yeah, it's obviously been a really concerning week, and our behaviour's been inappropriate.
Was the club anxious though about the potential for it to derail this game, given the only reason that it's going ahead is the agreement that players from both sides are going to be adhering to pretty strict rules and testing and regulations, including isolation?
Yeah, look, it's not for me to really pass that judgment. We don't make those decisions on the scheduling of the games here, so I'm not sure how those people who will make those decisions, whether it be SA Health or the AFL, will reflect on it, but it's them for them to pass judgment on.
So could SA Health feel confident that your players will take the requirements seriously for them to isolate following this game for 48 hours till they receive their negative test result?
Yeah, I think what's been 15 months now of the pandemic, in this instance it's complacent, it's unacceptable, but throughout, our players have done a lot. Across the industry, we've been very mindful of our place in the community and to keep everyone safe. This week we were subject to COVID tests that were not required by SA Health, not required by the AFL. It was a step that the club took just as a precautionary step, given that we'd travelled interstate and we're on a domestic flight and what have you. So we feel like we go over and above at times to ensure that our players and staff are safe and we're keeping the community safe. And in this instance, we've obviously been complacent, and that's unacceptable.
How many were involved? How many players and staff were involved? Have you spoken with all? Have they all been spoken to?
Yeah, there were a number of players and staff involved, somewhere in the vicinity of 8, I believe, in total. We've spoken to them individually, spoken collectively, but importantly, we need to be better at helping each other as well. Don't pull up someone when you walk past them and then momentarily got their mask down. Well, let's make sure we're not doing that. So we've just got to be better, and that's a commitment we're making to each other.
What was the breakdown of players and staff of those 8?
Look, the exact numbers, I think there was 3 staff and 5 players involved.
Are you going to name those players and staff?
No, I don't. Look, I want to highlight that we don't want to target any individual because at the end of the day, we had about 55 people in that travelling party, all of which on that flight could have done something about it if they had seen anyone wearing the mask incorrectly. So we share the blame together.
And has the club issued any of its own sanctions or taken any other disciplinary actions against those players and officials involved? Yeah,
we won't be targeting individuals with sanction. For anyone who didn't say something, we feel as guilty as what players or staff might have been who are depicted in those images. So we'll all share the blame in this.
Do stewards ask the people involved to put their masks on at all?
Yeah, we haven't spoken directly to the flight attendants who are on our flight, but we have spoken to Virgin management, and they have told us that there was no issues or concerns raised by any of the flight attendants, and they said that typically in cases where passengers have been reluctant to adhere to the requirement to wear face masks correctly, those sort of things would get logged, but in this instance there was no logging of any issues or concerns from flight attendants.
Why was the club flying commercial in this instance as opposed to a charter flight?
That has happened on occasion. At the moment I believe the position is that if you're travelling to and from a state or a territory that doesn't have any community transmissions of COVID, that they'll put us on sort of commercial flights. But on a charter, in other instances where the risk is higher, so the decision was made to put us on a commercial flight.
On another issue, in regard to the contract situation for Taylor Walker, Matt Crouch and Darcy Fogarty, where is that at the moment?
Yeah, look, they're in varying stages, I guess. We have committed to Taylor. We'll be talking around this mid-season, so right about now, and those conversations will commence. We've been discussing Matt's contractual situation with he and his management, right throughout the season. He's obviously in a really frustrating time at the moment, having not been able to get out on the park at this stage, and we're well advanced in conversations with Darcy's management.
Is there any idea of what's on the table, or what you're offering them in terms of length of contract extension?
No, we won't detail that publicly. We continue to work through that with the players and their managers. It has been a great year for us when it comes to re-signings. We've had 11 commit to this point in the year, and we're very hopeful of announcing a few more in the coming weeks.